Welcome back to ApprovedAF, the Mortgage Licensing Podcast, where we cut through the compliance clutter and get real about what it takes to grow a mortgage business without the chaos. In this episode, we're pulling back the curtain on LicensingStore.com, the story with our very own CEO, Ryan Kinch. You'll hear how a single gap in the mortgage licensing market sparked the idea for a company that is now helping brokers and lenders nationwide scale faster, stay compliant, and keep their sanity. If you've ever thought licensing was just paperwork, this conversation will certainly change your mind. Let's jump into it. Hey, Ryan, welcome.
Hi, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
So I think a lot of our listeners know what Licensing Store is all about, but they don't know how it got started. So take us back to the beginning. What were you doing professionally before this, and what was that light bulb moment to get this all started?
Sure. So the beginning of my time in the mortgage industry, I was a general counsel for a large retail lender, and licensing was one of the areas that reported out to me. And I had a great gentleman who was kind of the department manager on that. And so I didn't really have much of a hands-on involvement with it. Just kind of walked through some of the more esoteric or strange state requirements. And then around about I moved out to California, took another job working for a company that does RMBS securitizations. They're an appraisal management company, essentially bundled services for the mortgage industry on the back end. And one of those was contract processing, where you need to have licenses to perform that work because it's licensable under the SAFE Act. So I was assisting that company with getting their licenses to do contract processing work in several states, and clients kind of approached me asking if I could help them as well. And right about the same time, there's that little bug going around a few years ago, COVID, that kind of threw everything into a tailspin. And so I realized that it was a nice little side gig to help companies out with their licensing needs, basically small brokers and things like that. And I use it as extra money to make ends meet during the pandemic, and it just kind of grew from there. And we added additional services. I like to think, the value add was being available consistently for clients, answering questions that go beyond just licensing, kind of drawing from that past experience, and grew organically from that point into a kind of a self-sustaining business, to where I thought, hey, I can do this on my own. I know that there are other companies out there that do provide the service as well. I think do a great job. It's a small market, and so I wanted to see how I could assist the broker community and really the lending community at large with some of these more challenging but most importantly time-consuming administrative tasks that go into not only getting licensed but then staying licensed. And so that's the sort of the short story version of how it all began. But it was essentially me in lockdown in a small apartment in Costa Mesa, California, just working on licenses in my spare time in the evenings.
Was there a specific situation or a client ask that you then said, this is a need that we can really meet, that kind of kicked you to move Licensing Store forward?
I don't think there was a specific scenario or any one individual client. I think it was more so just realized that as time went on, the clients would come back for either additional states, or they were hiring new individuals, and I kind of carved out an additional niche for myself, where I would also serve as a sounding board for them for issues that didn't necessarily relate to licensing. Again, just drawing on prior experience. And so I would frequently get calls in that regard for small business owners, broker owners that wanted to bounce ideas off of me, bounce ideas off of them. And there's almost the referrals sort of continued to organically come in. And I don't think there's any one particular point. Although I think I sat there one day and said, wow, I can't continue to do both of this. I got to pick one or the other. And I wanted to be my own boss, kind of like all my clients were. And so that's where it started.
So you have a very strong legal background. How has that shaped your approach to licensing and compliance?
I think not only interpretation of the licensing statutes, but also being pragmatic and kind of peering through what the regulators are asking for, looking for, and preempting, I guess, some of the issues that might trip somebody up who's trying to do this on their own. There are a lot of, for example, unique terms out there that I think a lot of broker owners would spend time trying to figure out. For example, what's a surety bond, what's a registered agent, and really diving into that. And those are both obviously essential components of getting licensed, having those in place, but realize that they don't necessarily want to have a mastery level of that. And so being in a legal background and sort of interfacing with those firms in other contexts, or mergers and acquisitions, or expanding into new jurisdictions, you kind of interface with that a lot. And so having that approach, both pragmatic and also sort of understanding the needs of a small business and what are capable of, and kind of drawing that line between what they can execute on and designing a policy around that. I mean, fancy way of saying that not all policies are created equal. So not all mortgage brokerages are created equal. Some have hundreds of employees. Some prefer to just be a one or a two-man shop. And so we can't have a policy or a procedure for a 100-person, a 200-person company and try to apply that to a single shop owner. I mean, it has to sort of fit the mold and be reasonable in terms of the size, scope, and nature of the organization. And that's what examiners are ultimately looking for at the end of the day.
What surprised you most about the mortgage licensing world once you started really diving into it?
I guess nothing else. How much I wound up enjoying doing it, because for probably the first decade of my career, it was kind of just something that I viewed as a necessary evil. And once I got through that learning curve, it's kind of satisfying to walk someone through the process from start to finish. I mean, and I imagine it's the same as what loan officers would receive or would feel when they take a borrower from application to they're at the closing table, they get the keys to their first house, right? I mean, that's no different than licensing. It's essentially an underwriting of the business. And so I think that loan officers and companies generate a great deal of satisfaction from taking a borrower and working with them and helping them fill out the 1003, anticipating what underwriting might ask. So it's a smooth process for them. At the end of the day, consumers, they don't necessarily want to spend all their time on the mortgage process. They want their house. That's the bottom line. I think that they want their license. So I found that getting them to that point was far more enjoyable than I initially anticipated.
I think you like a challenge. You always have. With LicensingStore, was there a gap that you saw in the market that no one else seemed to be quite filling at that time that you felt LicensingStore could fill?
The time, I don't think that there was a gap, because I said there are other firms that are out there, and some of them have been doing it for quite some time. And I know some of them professionally, and I think that they're good and reputable firms. And it wasn't trying to fill a perceived gap necessarily between helping smaller businesses get licensed, because there are companies out there that do that and they do it well. But I think that the value add that we bring at Experts LicensingStore is we have a lot of folks here who each individually have 15, 20, 25 years of experience in the industry, and not just on the compliance side. I mean, we have folks who are doing regulatory exams now, but they started their careers as loan officers or wholesale account executives. And so we have a lot of those very deeply knowledgeable individuals that also know what it's like to have a borrower at the closing table and have a closing that's kind of going sideways and struggling to figure out how that's going to work. It's a company here that draws his expertise not only from compliance, but also the practical day-to-day challenges that broker owners might face. And we face that because we ourselves have been there. I mean, I myself have learned what I have largely through baptism by fire experience and getting my licks over the course of almost 2 decades now in the industry. So drawing on that diverse and also deep experience, on an individual level. I mean, I think the average length of experience for our staff is probably 16 or 17 years for each person. And that brings, I think, a pretty deep knowledge to any potential issue that one of our clients might have.
Yeah, there definitely is a lot of experience, and in a lot of different scenarios that each person has kind of experienced and seen, and that they can take that knowledge base and bring it to the table, which I think does strengthen LicensingStore, like our little brain trust. So it is a really good team. I mean, I can say that because I work here, not just because you're my boss. So starting a company in such a specific industry is not a small thing. And like, people should not just glaze over the fact of like starting a business being something to take lightly. What were those early days like for you, and what has been the hardest part?
I mean, the early days, I think, were probably what any small business owner, might face, especially stepping out on their own and hanging up their own shingle for the first time. It's exciting. It's also a little bit anxiety inducing because you don't know what's going to happen if you're doing this right. I mean, you're kind of always used to working for somebody else. So now all of a sudden it's your responsibility, and not only do you have to bring in the revenue, but you've got all these other issues and concerns that any small business owner would face. It's employee relations and what kind of technology you may going to use and that sort of thing. So bringing again sort of a diverse set of experience to those questions is something where I think we help our clients out a lot, or at least I hope we do. And then challenging, I think, was just kind of coming up with ways to get our name, out there, and how do we engage with a fairly developed community as a newcomer. So we had to essentially go out and do a lot of glad handing and shaking hands, kissing babies, that kind of thing, to not only show them that we're experts in the licensing field, but also that we're humans too, and you can talk to us. I mean, in fact, we encourage you to do so.
Were there moments that you doubted what we were creating here? And if so, how did you push through those doubts?
It would be dishonest to say that you never had doubts ever. I mean, it's about how significant they are and overcoming them, or being able to like tune the little devil on your shoulder out and say, that's not really the universe or the world talking to you. It's kind of more like, again, internal anxiety or just inherent self-questioning. Obviously, some people are more confident than others, and so they maybe have fewer doubts, or they're able to push through them quicker. I mean, I for the most part, just did my best to rationalize my way into a doubt, and then quickly rationalize my way out, and it would have to be essentially frictionless. Things kind of roll off my shoulders, and I have a short-term memory. I'll take what I get from these experiences, learning lessons. We'll integrate them into our process, but then again, I'm not going to dwell on it, right? If we make a mistake, we're not perfect. I'll make it right by the client. Absolutely. And as long as I do right by my clients and essentially give them high service at what they would expect, then I think that's the best way to push through kind of any sort of inherent self-concern or self-doubt.
I think even more so is you've opened up yourself to like having a team that can come to you and provide insight and feedback into like their little areas of expertise that you then build off of. You don't walk around with like the royal staff of kingship of the CEO title where it's too much that you're not willing to listen to the other members of your team and acknowledge like, okay, we might have gone off course here. Let's divert back and focus back onto what we are supposed to be really honing in on. So I think that's something that like really helps the company develop and grow over time too.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea. Have an open door policy. I mean, not only my staff, but my clients too. They all have my personal cell phone number. I mean, it's not uncommon for me to take calls at very strange hours where you wouldn't necessarily do that. Small anecdote that I'll share maybe later about a former mentor of mine who adopted that mindset. But for you kind of purposes of your question there, I think that some of our best ideas, in fact, I dare say most of the best ideas and enhancements that we have put in place over the last 4 years, going on 5 years now, is those that have come from our staff. And if I tuned that out or wasn't inclined to listen, then they would have never been implemented. I mean, same thing with client feedback. Certainly encourage it because it helps us improve. And I'm not going to be concerned with that if we don't necessarily, even if it's not great feedback, which we try to keep to a minimum, but all of that helps us get better over the long run and try to get a little bit better every day.
Kind of pushing off of that, what is one decision that you made early on that you now realize was like pivotal to LicensingStore's growth?
Boy, that's a good question. I think that again, kind of drawing on experience outside of licensing and offering that to clients and almost having those initial discussions where like we don't have an hourly model, for example, which a lot of law firms do, and some of them are in the business of licensing, and again, do a great job, but you're being charged hourly rates. A legal background myself, I mean, I like to give the impression that they're getting advice from somebody who's been a attorney in this very specific field of mortgage lending, mortgage origination, and having that available as a resource to your business, and then not charging for that.
Can you share with us, without naming anybody's company name or anything, a client who came to us as a complete mess and what others can learn from that situation?
I mean, I don't know if I characterize it as mess. Every small company has issues. Sometimes, especially when you have very explosive growth in the beginning, which is great, but that can come with logistical challenges because you have to then build the infrastructure. I mean, and it's a great problem to have because it says something about your culture and about the business that you're running, that a lot of people want to come and work for you and be a law officer there, and that's terrific. And then now you have to have the bandwidth to serve that internal market, if you will. I mean, a lot of companies will say that there's an internal market and there's an external market. Your external market is your consumers and the ones that do business with you, or if you're a wholesale lender, it's your broker owners, and then the internal market is folks that work within your four walls that are trying to serve the external market. And so we try to take those situations and give them advice on how to, again, pragmatically and also realistically roll out some adjustments that we think will be beneficial in the long run. Again, based on our experience with other clients, experience of each of the individual members here on the team, drawing from their past, having that that feedback, I think is helpful for them. And then at the end of the day, I mean, recognizing that not all of the suggestions are necessarily practical, at least right away. So instead of just saying, no, you can't do that, we can say, well, that's not a great idea, or wouldn't you recommend that? But let me give you a solution potentially that will get you to where you want to be, maybe not in the manner that you thought, but this will ultimately achieve the same goal, and it'll be much more easy to implement and then to continue on a long-term basis.
What do mortgage companies tend to overlook when it comes to that licensing or compliance piece of the puzzle that ends up costing them more time, money, or momentum?
Probably varies again on what your goal is as a broker owner, as a leader of a mortgage company. Again, smaller companies have different objectives, and maybe they want to stay smaller. They don't want to have staff of lots, and there are others that do. And so, I guess just trying to get them to help them understand ways that things can be implemented that will be beneficial to them.
Is there something that you learned from a client that has actually helped improve how LicensingStore operates?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just kind of all the time, I get emails from clients, whether that's complimentary or critical. There's almost daily feedback that we say, hey, we're getting a lot of positive feedback from so-and-so or from this firm because of our availability. And so let's find ways to make our staff more available to answer specific questions, whether it's a hotline or a chat or what have you. I mean, I think that that is a critical part of growing the company is hearing not only the feedback that they have for us, but also their concerns, just being out there, right? I mean, a lot of them don't know what they don't know. I mean, they've maybe never been through an examination before. They've never, had to get a license in a new state. And so they're trying to apply maybe things that they've done for many, many years in one jurisdiction. And now all of a sudden they're going somewhere else entirely. So I think that having that as a backdrop is helpful.
What is advice that you would give to somebody that's launching a niche business or solving a technical problem inside of a very regulated industry?
I think probably two things. One, look before you leave. Make sure that you are kind of checking your surroundings, and whether that's gathering feedback from others, from us, from your peers in the industry, ensuring that what you're getting yourself into, and if this is something that at the end of the day is the juice worth the squeeze, and then two, not trying to eat the entire elephant at once. I mean, you can definitely do things, but it's more of a crawl, walk, run, and not a fire ready aim type situation. So if you want to implement, for example, changes to your law officer compensation policy, or you want to expand from being in Michigan to now I'm going to be in Florida too, because lots of people in Michigan own second homes in Florida. I think that'd be good for me. Like, I think that's great. And then ensure that you sort of have done your homework and, consulted with who you need to about what does that entail. And before we just turn the leads on or turn the business flow on full spigot, I mean, do a couple of test cases. Make sure that you kind of got your ducks in a row, and then once you feel comfortable, add another layer, keep doing it that way.
I think that's very smart, and that's actually something that we've kind of addressed in past episodes and on being guests on other podcasts, is just talking about making sure that you have a strategic plan, because often we see people get very excited about the potential for growth, and they expand themselves or extend themselves too far into too many different places. And being a business owner, they're not necessarily got all of those operational pieces in place. So they're trying to build those as well as expand into new states, and it spreads them too thin too quickly. So making sure that where they're going is a strategic move for their business, and maybe taking it in bite-sized pieces, like you were saying, and not trying to eat the whole elephant. For a lot of people that are a smaller shop, that tends to work out better for them in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to discourage folks from pursuing whatever their goals are. That's why one of the first things we do here is have an introductory conversation to understand what it is that you'd like to achieve in the 3-month term, 6-month, year, 3 years. I mean, that's the saying as it goes, and plan your work and work your plan. So I would say I would just qualify that a little bit with certainly can go very far, just not necessarily that quickly, or even if you want to, be prepared for there to be a little bit of hiccups on the road. And that's okay. I mean, those are learning experiences. If you're going to get around, we've had many a client who's started with us as maybe 1 or 2 people, and now they're in 48, 49 jurisdictions. I would say that at some point, maybe there's a salesmanship element for those businesses. Kind of the difference between saying I'm open 9 to 6 every day versus I'm open 24 hours a day. I'm licensed in 10 states versus I'm licensed nationwide. I mean, there's an element to that, even if you don't necessarily get a significant amount of business from certain jurisdictions. So that's the business calculation, the business decision that they have to make. And we're here to guide them through that process. I try to point out potholes in the road potentially before they come to them.
For any of the broker owners that are out there listening who are trying to grow their company, but they feel like they're drowning on the back end, what would you suggest that they should focus on first?
Call us. I mean, I think, again, take it one day at a time, one issue at a time. Don't want to find yourself in a situation where if you're feeling overwhelmed, that's the way it's always going to be, or that all problems or all concerns need to be given equal weight, equal attention, and equal time. I mean, prioritize and understand that it's okay to take risks. I mean, that's what businesses have to do. Every business has to take a risk to survive. Large publicly traded companies have chief risks officers, where that's their job, is to decide acceptable levels of that. So don't be fearful of that. Just be mindful of the fact that it may seem confusing in the beginning, but your counterparts, your regulators, those types of folks, I mean, they're not out to get you. They're out, I think, to help you learn and to teach you. And since you're going into what you do with good faith, and in a clear mind, I think that even if there isn't an issue that comes up, it's something where the idea is going to be, okay, let's fix it once it's been identified, rather than we're going to have to close. Like, that's just not how it operates. And there's sometimes an undue amount of hand wringing about when there's something that that may occur, that it's going to be the end of us. And that's just not the case. I mean, before I joined here, I was on a conference call with a client and an state regulatory examiner, and they finished the findings, and they said, 4 violations for you, and you did a great job. I mean, regulators will tell you, I think, that if I don't find something, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that's the point of an exam, is to sort of not be punitive, but point out where maybe some housekeeping needs to be done. And then you go ahead and do that. So yeah, I think that just, again, being present and mindful of that is probably the most thing. And breathe. I mean, as they say, at the end of the day, it's life. Nobody gets out alive anyway. So enjoy it. You're running your own shop, and that's exciting. And take time to work on it, and just do a little bit to try and get a little bit better. I mean, you don't have to be an Olympic athlete to go and do a 5K just because you want to feel better about yourself. So try to get a little bit better every day. I mean, that's what I try to do here.
So LicensingStore, our core values are integrity, customer service, and efficiency. What does building a business with integrity and efficiency look like to you?
I mean, in integrity, for me, I've always given an analogy like so that whatever you're doing should be, comfortable sitting across the table from three people near me, your grandmother, a police officer, and your boss, right? And tell them what you're going to be doing. And are you comfortable saying that in front of those three people and having them know? Like, you don't want to be embarrassed or feeling like you have to hide the ball or something like that. I think that if you're going to operate in the wide open, fully transparent, I think that that's what integrity is all about. And if you feel like somehow that, boy, I don't really want other people to know about this, then not because it's trade secret or competitive advantage, like those things, and you do want to keep under your hat, but
That's the lawyer talking.
if you're going to be engaged in implementing processes or something like that, just be comfortable and confident that, I'm doing the right thing. I mean, to me, that's integrity. And I guess add part B to that, kind of owning up or you're being honest and like, hey, like, boy, I screwed the pooch on that one. Like, sorry about that. We'll make it right. It won't happen again. I mean, that's integrity. And then which one of the other ones did you want me to answer?
Efficiency.
Efficiency. That just gets back to finding ways to get better every day.
Yep.
And I don't say I want to like go through all of the ways that we're currently doing that internally, but figuring out like, hey, can I shave 15 seconds off this process because it's something that my closers have to do 200 times a day? Or can I find a way to do something that's maybe cheaper by 50 cents or $1 or whatever, and I'm not sacrificing quality? Because at the end of the day, I mean, seconds add up to minutes, add up to hours, add up to days, and nickels and dimes turn into quarters, turn into dollars. So that's where efficiency comes in for me, is looking for those areas, realizing that you're not going to be able to do it all at the same time, and some things might sound good in theory, but not in practice, and some things might work in practice, or like on paper, you'd be astonished. So just approaching it with that kind of mindset is probably how I would consider efficiency to be.
And also too, that I would say that with where we started 4 years ago with LicensingStore, the efficiency has just evolved over time. And that's always something that you're looking at in every decision for the company is this going to make us a more efficient company? And shaving off time and money, we've partnered with great companies in other areas, such as surety bonds and education, that we can provide to our clients that save them time and give them a great benefit and a great bang for their buck, so that they're also benefiting from that.
Yeah. I think that, having those partners that provide that additional service, and it's not so much about what they can give to me, because we don't make any money off registrations, off surety bonds, off any of that. But what can they bring to my clients? I mean, can they save them money? And in a lot of cases, we found that, wow, you're paying a lot for bond premiums. I mean, let us give you a quote from a couple of our providers, and if it makes sense for you, great. Or have you thought about consolidating a lot of these vendors that are providing one service for you into a single shop? So that's really, I think, the most important part for me is not what, and again, lots of providers over the past, and I think that they do a great job. Some of them are very well known. I mean, on the education front, on the surety front, see that type of thing. So my main question when I consider entering into a relationship with them, though, is, are you going to make this experience faster, easier, better for my clients? It's the most important part.
What are you most proud of, not just as the CEO of LicensingStore, but of creating a company that actually helps companies grow and people level up?
I mean, I think that we've talked a little bit about my background in the industry and other folks here, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I think that our staff is our greatest asset, not by a small margin. One of the most frequent comments that I get is she's awesome, because 60-70% of our workforce and 2/3 of senior managers are women, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank yourself, Brother Ryan and Kara and Erica and Tanya, Kristen, Zach, Christine, Grayson, and I think everybody. Right?
I don't know. I wasn't keeping track. But yeah, if we forgot anybody.
I'll first, let's say, Cruz, and Kathy. Kathy is new as well. Yeah, I mean, they make my world far easier because of the efforts and expertise that they put in. I couldn't do what they do a lot of times. So I think that that's probably what I'm most proud of is finding and building a team of those individuals that bring that A game, that customer service mindset every day. I mean, if nothing else, if we made no money, like, I'd be proud of the fact of we employ a great team. As Ryan says, that's the one. Other Ryan, that one of the things that we do is, we care, and I think that he's being genuine when he says that, is, we really do care about our clients. So that's probably what I'm most proud of, is the fact that that's a direct reflection of them.
Absolutely. The team, I would say, is one of the strongest assets to LicensingStore. They are always a huge part in that customer service and efficiency aspect of everything that we do. And they always operate with heart. So
100%.
If people want to connect and follow along with LicensingStore as we continue to evolve, where can they connect and find you?
I think we have a pretty substantial presence on LinkedIn, where we try to push out information, not just about deadlines getting licenses, but some of the unique or different requirements in each individual state that might be helpful for them to incorporate. So certainly follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram. I hear we have a podcast now, or at least that's why I'm here. So that'd be another one.
Oh, you heard that? That's weird.
Weird, yeah. And then we are going to be launching a portal very soon, where we hope to have a internal encyclopedia for clients, as well as a way to give them a high-level overview of their company, because that's one of the biggest questions I do get is, are we licensed somewhere? Or how many people do I have licensed in this state? Or are you familiar with any of the regulatory requirements of that state? Yes, is the answer to all of that. I know I've been talking about it for quite some time, but I think it's coming to fruition, and so hopefully we'll start to roll out beta examples of that coming up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
And that's a wrap on today's episode of ApprovedAF, the Mortgage Licensing Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this conversation valuable, make sure to follow us on Instagram at ApprovedAF_licensing. Leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening, and hit subscribe so you never miss another episode. I'm your host, Catalina Stepanoff, and with that, stay licensed, stay compliant, and stay approved AF.